Now, we begin. And indeed, once again, greetings unto you, beloved and holy friends. We, come forth to abide with you, because again, you have asked. You have asked that that one that we have called Abba appear through his created forms as I, Jeshua ben Joseph, as we, which we will call here the lineage, and also through this, my beloved brother, who serves yet in the physical world as the physical conduit of that wisdom, of that energy, that in truth the Father is. The Father is what you are. Therefore, you have asked to be guided into the recognition that only God exists by sending forth a prayer unto me and unto this lineage and unto your Creator to appear unto you in a graded way, that is, in a slowly emerging way that does not elicit an increase of fear. And yet in truth your prayer has been to desire the awakening from the dream of the small self into the reality that there has been nothing but God, and you are that. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, as that one created and birthed from the mind of Abba, even as you are created and extend the love of God in the realm of form, I come forth as your brother and your friend, and yet only God exists. I will be with you always, even unto the end of all worlds, that is, unto the end of all illusions. From that moment, creation will extend itself with perfect clarity, with perfect transparency, as God merely extends God in a joyous, ecstatic act of becoming the forms of creation merely to celebrate and praise God. For the very purpose of all created forms of consciousness is to express praise of the Creator. It is impossible to extend praise of the Creator without fully loving oneself. Without embracing and loving the particular manifestation of God as you cannot fully step into the complete expression of the praise of the Creator. Therefore, you have heard me say unto you many times that the veil that keeps you from the kingdom is the lack of self-love. Self-love is essential to return to the kingdom, for self-love is the love of the Creator. For you cannot love the Creator while rejecting the Creator's creation. Indeed then, beloved friends, know well that we who would come unto you, indeed we that have been coming unto you since the day and hour and moment that this work began, some 12 years ago or so, from the very moment I first appeared in the mind of this my beloved brother, it has always been a we and not just an I as Jeshua ben Joseph. For there are indeed many of us who are linked together in what we call the lineage that extends far back in your history of time, creating what you might call in your scientific terms a resonance of energy that links the mind of the Creator through the epochs of time, through many individual minds, even unto this moment. It is indeed that lineage that brought forth the strand of salvation that culminated in my incarnation as Jeshua ben Joseph. The script was written thousands of years before. The linkages of energy were created generation unto generation unto generation unto generation, culminating in the birth of me as a man who opened to the reality of Abba as the only reality, through which the Creator could extend the perfect love of himself and make it visible to his children abiding in the spell or under the spell of illusion. That work has never ceased, and indeed let it be known that the work that is done through this called the Shanti Cristo is an extension of and a collaboration with the entirety of that lineage, that strand of light, extending from the mind of God into the forms of time with one purpose: to awaken every aspect of the sonship. And what can the sonship be but the extension of God into form, into that which appears as an individual, that which can create, that which can enter into holy relationship, that which can remember the fullness of Abba while being the particular individual in the field of space and time. The purpose then of the lineage has never changed, and it is indeed gained in power through practice and through adding to its numbers. Imagine then a field of energy that attracts minds floating by it, and as those minds begin to resonate with the message or the Word of God as it is being expressed through this energy field, this lineage, they become like unto the field of energy itself. As one of us once said, and is still recorded in your Bible, let that mind be in you, which was also in the one we have chosen to call our Lord, the one known as Jeshua ben Joseph, or the Christ. When Paul wrote those words, he was referring to just this process in which you, under the spell of separation, release the spell, begin to resonate with the mind of the Christ, begin to take up your seat within this expanding lineage of light, a direct descendant, a direct disciple of God. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, understand well the role that you play. Wherever you are upon this plane, you may be living in a farmhouse with very few neighbors. You might be living in what do you call these, the condominiums in your New York City, and yet wherever you are about something extraordinary. You are about that process whereby, from the moment the tiny, mad, serious thought of separation was dreamed, you are about the very process through which the Creator is correcting the illusion of separation. There is nothing occurring upon your planet that is not about that. It either expresses separation or it extends the correction of separation. There is only heaven or the illusion of hell. Therefore, understand that you are an extraordinary being. You, right where you are given opportunities moment to moment to be the truth of who you are, and therefore be the light that lights the world. You are part of an ancient lineage that stretches back to before creation began. That strand of light has never been broken or lost. I, as Jeshua ben Joseph, am merely the culmination of the expression of that in the field of space and time, and from that moment it has begun to spread out and to seep, if you will, into more and more minds as the sonship is awakened to the resonance with the field of energy that is the Christ mind. You are in the process of ultimate transfiguration. You are part of an ancient lineage with but one purpose: the complete transfiguration of human consciousness into being the literal field of Christ mind, extending creation throughout the physical dimension. There are many extraordinary things ahead for humanity. There are many extraordinary things ahead for you. And no matter how deeply you have stepped into this journey, no matter how many transfigurative experiences you have had, as the false self melts away and the reality of Abba is birthed in the mind made by God, there is always more. There is always more. For the Father never ceases in extending himself into the forms of his creation. Never. That which the soul is, even beyond the lifespan of the body, the soul can never die, nor will it ever be completed. For creation is an infinite process of extending the good, the holy, and the beautiful. Understand well, then, that you are not an ordinary person. You no longer walk this planet asleep. You may have thought saying, I'm still not there, I still don't quite get this way of knowing. That takes my breath away to hear that there's only God and I am that. Let it take your breath away. Enjoy the experience, knowing that that is precisely the most perfect thing that can be occurring in the process of transfiguration that you are undergoing. You are already in the hands of Abba. You are already embraced and supported by many, many beings abiding in a non-physical dimension that are part of this expanding circle of energy that we call the lineage. Our numbers are numerous. Many of our names, if you will, are known to you. Who are we then? Well, you know me. You know that of Germain. You know that of Mary. You know that of Abraham and Moses. There are many, many others. You know the names of the prophets of the Torah. The entire lineage then expressed itself down through the birthing of what is called the Jewish nation, which carries the great strand of the Messiahship, culminating in the birth of me, Jeshua ben Joseph. You are part of a very ancient family. You are becoming one and the same as that field of shimmering, radiant light that is the purity of the love of God shining through consciousness into the realm of matter, if you will, into the physical dimension. This makes you not ordinary, but extraordinary. For without fanfare and without external ritual, which often casts only a spell over the heart and mind, the ego loves ritual, you have indeed gone through many initiations. The day and the hour in which you first opened to me through this particular form of communication, through this, my beloved brother, you underwent an initiation. You gave your consent to your Creator to transfigure your beingness, so that it becomes the conduit through which the Creator extends Himself. And God is but love. God is the wisdom of the Christ mind. God is the sonship. I want to then invite you in this hour, again in the way of knowing, to know, to accept wholly that you are in extraordinary company. You are not sleepwalking on the planet any longer. You've already begun to see beyond illusions, to penetrate what your eyes used to tell you were just the form and dance of matter and molecules, personas and egos and bodies. You've begun to see the invisible strand, the invisible dance that is truly going on. You've begun to have visions and dreams. You've begun to feel inspired. You've begun to learn forgiveness, healing, and even self-love. Self-love, then, is the perfection of all spiritual practice. Self-love is the final shining ray of light that illuminates the heart of the individuated ray of light that you are. Self-love transfigures the mind, the emotional body, and even the physical body to the degree that it strongly shines into the cells of the body. Therefore, indeed, beloved friends, as we enter into these last days of this way of knowing, we have come in this hour to share with you that we do not so much come to a culmination or an end, but to a springboard for what shall be. In these 3 years, we have sought to help you dismantle your illusions, to soften your heart and your mind, to be more and more willing to be less fearful. By becoming less fearful, you have indeed opened more and more to the guidance of the Holy Spirit. Every choice for love has been the result of a transfiguration that has been going on in the alchemy of your soul. You are an extraordinary being. You have been initiated into the strand of light that we would here call that of the lineage, the sacred family dedicated to the manifestation and the fulfillment of the atonement, the awakening of the sonship as the mind of Christ. All that you do in each moment when you dedicate yourself to love, again, whether you be living in a farmhouse or in a condominium in New York, adds to the field of energy being created that will one day tip the balance and dissolve all illusions from all minds. Your life, then, is a life in service to the sonship, regardless of the forms in which you find yourself living. Your only task, then, is to decide each day to surrender anew, desire the atonement, intend the atonement, allow transfiguration to occur, surrender into the truth. Abba, you are the only thing that exists. Therefore, it makes no sense even to say, not my will but thine, for yours alone is. How shall we spend this one day? Each experience that you go through is the reshuffling of the cards, so to speak, as your life changes and ebbs and flows and miracles begin to come. Old friends go, new friends come. All of it is the process whereby your particular expression of Abba is being transfigured into the power and purity of Christ. We are with you wherever you go. The second thing that I wish to share with you this day is that the power of the lineage is available to you. For in the first moment you chose to listen to me speak through this, my beloved brother, you entered through the portal of an initiation, and transfiguration has continued from that moment to the degree you've been willing to allow it. In that moment, let us use something from your world, you've been plugged into the circuitry of the lineage. I want then to invite you in this hour's taping to recognize it is not just Jeshua ben Joseph who has manifested the fullness of the Christ mind, but there are a host, a heavenly host, that's where all that language came from, within the Jewish Torah and even the New Testament, taken over, by the way, by something called Christianity, which is not something that I know much about, since I am indeed, or was as a man, a Jew. But beyond that, I am of that strand of light expressing itself through the tradition of the Jewish family, and all of this has been by perfect design of Abba. It is not the only strand. There are others, yes, universal strands that encompass the entirety of human experience. All souls have their lineage. There are strands expressed through that which is called India. There are strands expressed through that which is called now the Tibet. There are strands or lineages that extend themselves through the South Americas. There are strands or lineages that have extended themselves through the North American Indian. Do you see? All of these strands are like spokes emanating from the hub of one wheel, reaching out to the farthest reaches of the dream of separation, attracting and calling the sonship back together. So that whether one is Incan or Mayan or Anasazi or Tibetan or Indian or Jewish, or even if you're from New York, you are beginning to become part and parcel of one mind that recognizes the reality of the invisible permeating the realm of the visible. You are indeed taking up your place at the right hand of God. You know the phrase in your language, the right-hand man, or the right-hand woman. It means one who is in alignment and acts only to fulfill the will of the one in charge. It is a beautiful phrase, and it expresses right-mindedness. Therefore, indeed, understand well, beloved friends, even if you're 85 years old, sitting in your comfortable rocking chair, believing that your life is just about to end, it can never end. The body-mind will be put to the dust of the ground, but you have already entered into a fast track. You are indeed a mystic. You are indeed going through the process of transfiguration, and you are adding to the power of this lineage to bring about the restoration of heaven on earth and the reestablishment of the Christ mind throughout the sonship. And even when the body drops, let us just say that you will be assigned to a new office. That's all. You listening to these words are of infinite importance in the expression of this work that is called Shanti Cristo. more than an organization, and much more than a sacred piece of land to which many someday will come and will be healed, that is, will enter into the Christ mind just by the power of stepping into the vortex of purity that has been established there. You are already in that process. As that purity is established in you, you are literally affecting the creation and extension and expansion of the vortex on that land that has existed for a very long time. It is a portal. It is a doorway. There are many names that can be used that takes the mind and transports it into other realms. It is transfiguring to simply abide on that land. Therefore, understand well your great importance. Many of you have perceived that you are merely a receiver through this organization, yet as you receive, you are giving, and as you give, you receive. You are part of the lineage, the field of energy, creating a vortex that has the power to overcome illusions. Many of you are seeing this in your personal lives. Many of you are witnessing the increasing power expressed through the two who joined as one in the physical realm and awaited the call to join with me, and have then enacted the birthing of Shanti Cristo. And I don't think names are necessary here. Those of you that are witnessing this increase in power through each of them individually and collectively, you are literally witnessing exactly what I'm talking about, that the vortex of energy is expanding and deepening. You are literally witnessing the forerunning effects of what is to come. When the day will arise when no one will need to say a word. And yet through the gathering of the lineage, individuals who are attracted will heal, spontaneously and immediately drop into enlightenment. All of you are part of this. This is how extraordinary you are. And this is the invitation that we constantly extend to you. Think not that that which is called Shanti Cristo is simply another worldly organization. The deepest levels of transfiguration are already occurring through this lineage, through this strand or ray of light. Therefore, indeed, embrace that which you are, honor that which you are, extend that which you are. Go and teach all nations. Let them know that I have come again, and that this expression called Shanti Cristo shall become increasingly a primary vehicle through which the lineage is creating the vortex, the portal, the initiation, call it what you will, the energy of transfiguration that will quicken in its enlightenment or atonement of the sonship. Therefore, understand well that what will be coming in our future days and weeks, months and years together is a growing body of those maturing in the way of the Christ mind, maturing in the level of commitment, because they will come to see the extraordinary role that they are playing in a much bigger picture than their own personal lives. The family will indeed grow, and much is being set in place for this to occur. The lineage, then, never ceases working in establishing the network of light that allows the expression of this light visibly through this vehicle called Shanti Cristo. We recognize well that as you live your personal lives seemingly many, many miles from one another, often with little third-dimensional contact, it is easy for the mind to cast the spell upon you that not much is occurring. And yet I say unto you, it will occur with you or without you. The invitation then is to take up your rightful place by stepping into the full commitment for the birthing of this extraordinary expression that shall indeed eventually touch all corners of your planet. That has been its purpose since long, long, long ago. The birthing then of Shanti Cristo is perfectly an expression of that which was just as important, called my birth and my crucifixion and resurrection. It's all part of the same script. Something in you has attracted you to me. Something in you has attracted you to the lineage. Something in you resonated with Shanti Cristo. For those words carry the vibration of the call that I have told you from a time quite ancient. You would one day hear as you become quickened from the dead, to use a Christian phrase. The awakening of the soul, the call back home to the family, to the lineage, to the purpose of the atonement. Indeed, then, beloved friends, you cannot have an ordinary day any longer. You might as well accept the fact that let us have some fun with this here, you have come with a mission. You are a bringer of light, a bringer of a new day or a new dawn. You are that which extends the light and love of God into creation by your willingness to let the light transfigure your humanity. Your humanity is transfigured as you embrace your humanity and see it all as sacred. For you see, the spell of illusion is to believe that life as a body-mind is a mistake, that it is a fearful world, that one is limited and small, that the only thing you can do is put all your energy into trying to survive, that all you can do is block your feelings and pretend they're not there in an attempt to deny the power of the Christ that you are, the power to bring the miracle of love and remembrance and atonement to each moment. You are indeed unlimited in all ways forever. And the mind that serves the Holy Spirit, which is the Christ mind, which is the mind of Abba, which is the self of your very soul, they're all the same. The mind that serves the Holy Spirit is indeed unlimited forever, and is part of an extraordinary family called the lineage that can indeed be traced through the Jewish nation, if you will, the Jewish families, and can be traced even back before that lineage, that family, that nation was birthed. It shapes itself back through Egypt, back through Persia. It has some roots in ancient India, and it indeed has roots beyond this physical earth. You therefore are not alone, and your role should never be minimized by you. And so with that, please understand that the culmination of the year of knowing has been the desire and attempt to invite you more and more and more deeply. And yes, we know that the mind hits its points of fear and must plateau out for a week or a year or 10 lifetimes before it's willing to step further. And yet you are free, even in the midst of your deepest fears, to say yes to transfiguration. For darkness holds no power over light. And it is often, in fact it is always, when you're at the point of your greatest sense of darkness or your greatest feeling that the light just can't quite get into you, that you couldn't possibly ever be enlightened, it is at that moment that you need only invite the light, and the light begins to transform the darkness. It is when you are at your edge of darkness that the dawn is but a breath away. As you transfigure your humanity, you are transfiguring the energy field of humankind, pure and simple. You are incarnating Christ into the world. You are resurrecting and awakening the dead into life eternal. Now, as we continue then, there will at times be guidance from this that I'm calling the lineage. Much is going to be set in place. The quickening is going to step up a notch, and the invitation will go out to many, many more. Take up then your rightful place and begin to give up hiding your light under a bushel. If there is anyone you know who does not yet know of your involvement in Shanti Cristo, it is time to empower yourself to move beyond fear by letting them know. It is indeed time to start standing up, to be counted as one who is committed to the transfiguration of human consciousness through the lineage of the Christ mind, pure and simple. And so, you are extraordinarily important. You must begin to discipline the mind to not perceive yourself as a small part, not to perceive yourself as separate from one another, to begin to take action to create the lines of communication, even in the third dimensional realm. It is time for you as individuals to step forward in the birthing of Shanti Cristo instead of waiting and depending upon its founders or upon the handful that seems to have gone a little further ahead. You are that one, you the listener of these words. And if you will but step forward, the whole power of the lineage will support you. So the invitation is indeed bold, and the stakes, so to speak, have always been high. It is a great dream to transform the dream of separation into the dream of perfect remembrance. You are not small, and you are not alone. Many of you are beginning to be more deeply aware that you too hear me. Let that process continue and deepen. Become an equal conduit which extends the atonement through the Christ mind, through that which is called Shanti Cristo, through you. This, my beloved brother, was merely selected a long time ago to be the primary initiator of this process in space and time. That of which you might call here the soulmate was also part of that agreement. And yet, that was only the first step. They indeed will continue with you or without you, and yet for this work to reach its fulfillment in the quickest possible time, requires the invitation of this lineage to you, a part of this lineage. Where can you step forward with greater boldness? Where can you find your edge of fear and call in the support of light and move through it? Where can you drop the pebble into the pond that radiates the vibration of this lineage through you out into the world? For the world holds no power over you. I hope in this simple sharing to this point that your mind has been a little shaken and you have been brought to a deeper stillness, that your mind has been brought back to the reality of what attracted you to this vibration in the first place. For in that moment, your heart was thrown open through the portal of initiation. Your soul is what has attracted you back to me. For your soul has always known the truth, and it has simply answered the call. Yet it takes vigilance and discipline to always remember each day not to fall asleep again. For the temptation of the world is just that. To begin to think that all of those walking asleep on the world have greater knowledge than you. And since so many of them are asleep, maybe being asleep is the way to be. It is not. For all those sleeping will be transfigured in the twinkling of an eye. The sleeping call out in their slumber for someone to stir them from their sleep by modeling and expressing and communicating the quickening vibration of light, which is the presence of God. Indeed, you have chosen to come into this dimension as part of a very grand work that is going on multi-dimensionally. You are indeed part of a rather large family. In the coming months and years, you will hear from me again. Many of you will continue to deepen your ability to communicate with me directly. Honor and love, therefore, one another. Honor and love, therefore, one another. Recognize that you've come together not to live ordinary lives, but to play out the greatest drama ever enacted upon the human plane. That is your role, your function, your purpose, and your life. Understand well, then, that in the coming months, you will begin to see and witness even greater miracles and manifestations. Those of you that have been watching closely have already seen many. They will indeed continue to be enhanced, to be quickened. The miracles will seem bigger to some, but those of you that have been watching will know that there is no order of difficulty in miracles, and one is not greater than another. The vortex of energy is being set. Certain purifications have been occurring, and it's time for what you might call here a major pop into another circle of energy. You will also hear from various, what you call members, if you will, of this lineage that have been actively working behind the scenes but have not stepped forward to speak. We mentioned this once before. Some of you have forgotten it. And yet the time comes very quickly. You will indeed be hearing from that one which I have called my mother, that you know as Mary. You will indeed be hearing from that one that you would know as Moses. And there will be some others as well. You will be hearing from what seems to be a very ordinary embodied human beings, all of whom will be attracted to join with this organization because they resonate with the vibration that it is establishing on the planet. Listen well to all of them. Place no special value on communication from me or from the non-physical realm, but listen for the strand of truth that speaks the reality you know within your heart. It has indeed been a great honor to be the one selected of my Father to undergo the laser beam purification called the crucifixion and resurrection as part of a much larger picture. It has been a great honor to be the one through whom you have opened your heart to the love of God. It has been an honor to serve as a Savior and Messiah, but in truth that is not the end, for the end can come only when perfect equality as Christ is established in all hearts and minds. Join with me then in this great work. Join with me. Do not shy away from that which your heart would call you unto. Rather, dive deeper. I will never leave you and will never take my hand from this work until all is indeed completed. You will indeed be hearing from me in the future many times, though the vehicle through which that comes might be surprising at times. Be you therefore at peace, beloved friends, beloved brothers and sisters, who must indeed, by the way, sisters, begin to unite more powerfully in the expression of the Christ mind through the feminine form. Enough said about that for now. I indeed love you always, and I participate with all minds called to awaken. I am but your brother and your friend, ever dedicated to revealing that which my Father would reveal to you through me in just the right way, at just the right time. You are as I am, and together we transfigure humanity. In this way, then, I was a prototype for what is to come, an expression in space of time of what all are destined to be. And yet, that destiny is but the remembrance of what they have always been, beyond the veil of illusions. Peace is with you always. Peace is with you always. Hear the call. Accept the invitation. And let us continue in the greatest story ever told. Amen.